It all started in the Bronx by Red Gomez. In the 1970s, the Bronx borough of New York City was racked by poverty. A generation of poor young people, largely African Americans and Latinos, found a creative outlet in a new form of music. It could be made by anyone with a sound system. Expensive instruments and lessons were not required. The music was called hip hop. It began as party music played by DJs, disc jockeys. One of the first DJs was a Jamaican immigrant named Clive Campbell, who called himself Kool Herc. In 1970, he began appearing at outdoor block parties, playing the rhythm lines from soul, funk, and rock and roll songs. These instrumental breaks, when the singer is not heard, were popular with crowds who liked to dance. DJs like Herc used two turntables, switching back and forth between records to extend the length of the rhythm breaks. Block parties were hosted by a master of ceremonies, or MC. The MC would speak over the music the DJ played. Kool Herc's MCs were called the Herculoids. Early MCs would introduce themselves, the DJ, and people at the dance. Over time, MCs began to improvise clever rhymes in time with the beat. The ad-libbed rhyming was called rapping, and the MCs started to be called rappers. People at Kool Herc's parties danced to the music. Some would perform in front of the crowd, creating a dynamic new style called b-boying or breakdancing. The b-boys and b-girls danced in teams called crews, the first of which was called the Zulu Kings. Different members of each crew had a series of moves, some with body motions, others spinning on their heads and shoulders. The crews met at dances and held contests. Soon, the downtown media picked up on what was happening in the Bronx. Photographers and journalists made their way into the neighborhoods to hear the music and watch the b-boys in action. Finally, Hollywood caught on, with films like Beat Street and Breakin', which in 1984 gave most of the world its first look at hip-hop. In fact, hip-hop pioneers like Kool Herc and Africa Bambaataa appeared as themselves in the movies. Hip-hop wasn't just about music and dancing, of course. It was a whole culture. There were four major elements of hip-hop culture, and in addition to the DJing, rapping, and breaking, there was graffiti. Like b-boys, graffiti artists, called taggers, formed crews. Each morning, the people of the South Bronx woke up to find another old building had been adorned with spray-painted figures, letters, and wild colors. Rapid transit trains emerged from subway tunnels and traveled along overhead tracks, their cars also tagged. The art world took notice. Just as hip-hop music and dance produced superstars, some of the graffiti artists became famous. Fab Five Freddy, a tagger, rapper, and dancer, became a regular on MTV. A Haitian artist, Jean-Michel Basquiat, became the darling of the Manhattan art scene. Other taggers who became art stars were Lee Quinones and Sandra Fabara, known as Lady Pink. In the years that followed, hip-hop spread, first to the West Coast, then worldwide. The styles of music, dance, and even fashion changed, but the idea remained. In countries around the globe, hip-hop has given a voice to urban young people. It has sent a message that artists don't need to be rich or to come from the right neighborhood. They just have to be real. All right, so our short response question for this passage is actually a graphic organizer. And for this question, what you're going to do is, in the chart below, identify one of the four major elements of hip-hop culture as described in the article. Then explain how it rose in popularity to be a part of the hip-hop movement. All right, so this is a two-part question. And since it is in chart form, you're going to put the first part, one of the four major elements of hip-hop, here. So this is a really easy question because you just have to basically list something. And then this is where you're actually going to write more of an extended response. How it rose in popularity is going to be here. Now, don't forget that this is a short response question. So even though it's in chart form, not only do you want to include your text evidence, but you want to make sure that you elaborate and that you try to make some kind of inference or claim.